I was born in 1792, and at 22 years old, my husband Boswan and I decided we must escape the plantation in East Florida in the summer of 1814. We heard a group of Negro and an Indian were gathered near Pensacola and along the Appalachian River when the promise of the freedom from the British. We planned for carefully during the fall to leave. A man named Woodbine, who said he served as a captain in the Royal Colonial Marine, met us along the Halifax River in winter. It was cold and very dark as a number of us escaped, including our two children, Sally and Boyers. We filled the small boat quickly, pushing off into the river. We arrived after a week at the post called Prospect Bluff. As we walked through the forest, we saw what loomed above us. Four rapids were hauled for cannons and a fortified embankment with a large gate and a soldier drilled in the yards. There was many homes scattered around the fort, mud huts for family, a field and planted area a few hundred feet. Boswan agreed to join the troop as a soldier. Colonel Nicholas promised freedom to ask for Boswan military service. Boswan trained with other free Negro and a group of Creek Seminole warrior allying against the Americans. The change of events and the announcement of the withdrawal of the British troop was met with great disagreement and a fierce response from us all, especially the Indians. Nicholas assembled several thousand Indians who came from far away, several miles away from the fort, to solidify a promise to return land in defiance of the American agreement.
I've been born in 1793 in Northwest Florida, where I lived most of my life as a free Negro woman. I lived with another free Negro man named Ben Sims. We live as man and woman among the Indians. My oldest child is Richard, and my youngest is Ben. Ben been born in 1810, and then my daughter, Marianne and Lucinda, been born. My husband died just before I let Ben go with Captain Mott of New Providence, Bahamas, as a cabin boy in 1820. That's been the best way, I thought, for Ben to travel away from our area, which been too dangerous for we. We know Captain Mott frequently traveled between Florida and the Bahamas. Boatmen recklessly that a Captain James had come aboard Mott's ship, take Ben, travel to Cuba, where he sailed Ben into slavery.
All the Negroes at the fort sensed a change in our safety as the British troop planned for their departure, and the Indian ally left a group heading to their territory across Florida and beyond. The fort will eventually be solely under Negro control, and our plan had to change. A white soldier, William Hamby, was assigned by Nicholas to work with Prince Garcon and Cyrus, our leader, and await the British return in 1815. But within a month, we felt we could be overwhelmed by the American force. We heard slave owners are demanding the U.S. President must read the fort, and we heard many stories of slave catcher with a group of Creeks who are coming into Florida snatching free Negro living amongst the Seminoles. The Creek and the Seminoles friendly to us in concern. The Spanish governor received a call from a slave owner in Pensacola to obtain the slave now living with us here at the fort. And the Pensacola army is no match for the American. We know soon there will be slave catcher or a military force coming to fight us here.
We moved place to place by boat in 1820 in Florida, the year that Little Ben disappeared. An Indian civil war had gone, but we still been at risk. I tried to find information about Ben, but there been so much conflicting story. I began living with a man named Joe McNeil, and we decide we must leave Florida, as we hear more Indian war been possible and more white been coming. Our freedom been uncertain. We set out for Andros Island in the Bahamas with my oldest son and daughter on a sloop called Friend, commanded by Captain Pierce. By 1835, we hear story of renewed Seminole and Creek War in Florida, and I glad to be one of a few women on Andros. I own my own property in my own name.
Captain Woodbine give all those remanded at the fort an option to travel by ship to a different British port where slavery is forbidden, or remain behind at the fort to wait for Nichols to return. Botswana and I decided to leave, and we boarded a British vessel for the Bermuda guided by Captain White and set sail for Florida in early 1815. We arrived in Nassau Harbor in June to restock the ship. Gabriel Perpall was the owner of 18 male slaves, 11 female slaves, and 20 Negro slave children by 1814. When our family fled the plantation, we know Mr. Perpall had many connections. Are we afraid he would receive information that our ship had been held for Bermuda with a slave who had been at the Prospect Bluff? He sent word for his brother John, who worked a plantation in the Bahamas, to obtain permission to board the ship once we anchor.
By 1847, my daughter Marianne died of cholera. In that same year, my oldest son Richard sailed to Cuba in a sloop called Gig with Captain Scott. Richard worked on the War of Cuba and heard rumor of a man named Ben living in a mountain as a slave from a colored man, Henry. It been extremely dangerous for my son to work in Cuba as a free black man. Richard gone over in the mountain looking for a brother, but could not find no information. Our plight to find Ben been published in a series of Bahamian paper and widely read in the United States and even in Cuba. An elderly man died who claimed to own Ben. Upon the man dead, Ben traveled to Havana to claim his freedom. Ben been required to be in custody of officials to work through a claim that he was unlawfully removed from a ship and sold into slavery as a boy. In the Bahamas, we give our deposition and work with the Cuban officials to release the man who we think indeed but my son Ben.
For almost a year, we were held as prisoners in the Bahamian jail. Are we free or not? Nichols had paid the slave owner, especially the Spanish owner, for their slave. We hoped that proof of the payment to Mr. Perpall in the East Florida would arrive, and we would be freed. Argument was made for us to deliver back to the United States, but ultimately we were released into the custody of John Perpall and his family as slaves again in the Bahamas. On July 4th, 1816, official from Britain, the country that had promised us so much, allowed for us to be delivered to a new slave owner in the New Providence. We were determined we must make the best of our harbor situation.
My friend Mitchell Roberts, living with us in Andros Island, served as a colonial marine in the post at Prospect Bluff, is deposed by Bahamian authorities about Ben. He confirmed our status as free Negroes living in Northwest Florida when Ben been born. He confirmed that Captain James is considered a pirate, but not in the habit of taking boys. This information been forwarded to Cuba. More material, but uncovered addressing the stopping of marked boat by Captain James in 1819, but ain't completely clear how Ben would have been taken and sold into slavery. We so close to getting the man we think Ben free with all our work with the officials when my little Lucinda died in 1852 of cholera. 2 years later, May 1st, 1854, we received the terrible news that Ben had died in Cuba. We can never know the truth about my son.
Just over 10 years since we left the plantation in East Florida, we are now working on the Perpall plantation in the Bahamas. By 1825, family grew. Sally now 13, boy 11, and we had Sarah Ann, who is now 9, William 6, and John 4, and Charlotte is 1. Isaac was born in 1828, but a year later, both were Swan and John died. And I'm pregnant again with my final child. 4 years later, my little Charlotte died, and we had been moved to the Grand Bahamas where we are registered again as slaves of the Perpall family of Bahamas.